Hello, welcome to Wargaming. So today we're going to talk very briefly about the last Warhammer World event that we went to.
Yes, it was called. It was All Out War Epsilon Stranivar 9. As you can see, somebody has won some trophies.
So these are Ted's trophies. He won third favourite traitor, and I won best traitor army. Although I'm a complete muppet and left them both in the house. So sorry about that, but yeah, never mind.
We'll get on to that.
The old age is getting to me.
So, starting off, it was an apocalypse event, wasn't it? It was a narrative apocalypse event.
And apocalypse events are always massively difficult to run, especially when you've got so many players, so many gamers, so many armies.
80 people down there with 3,500 points each.
6,500 points, because you initially had a 3,500 point force as your primary, and then you had a 3k army as reserves, which when you actually break it down is
6,500 points.
A lot of points. I was trying to do the maths wrong.
I wasn't doing the math.
Lots.
That's a lot.
Lots and lots.
Because again, there was a lot of people who, like myself, who didn't have it, so...
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, apocalypse games are difficult. That said, we had quite the spectrum of sort of events, and I had quite a positive event, although it did take my Iron Warriors 3 turns to get into a firing position. But
that's the nature of apocalypse, though.
And given the nature of the table that we had, because they'd set up different tables.
So, let's start from the beginning, shall we?
Yeah.
So they basically set out 4 different zones, battle zones, with a zone mortalis one in the middle, so 5 zones all together. Each one of them representing a different force of this Epsilon Stranivar sector, whether it was Dawn's Folly, which was the one Ed was on, with all the sensor arrays, and each one, there was the city one with the sacrificial pit,
I was on.
And mine was the Titan board, which is another thing, and then there was the spaceport as well.
Yes.
So there was a lot of different areas of those things going on.
And each of these tables had their own very specific environmental sort of things going on.
So for mine, we had generators that we had to capture and activate, which would then activate weapons on a ship, or anti-defense lasers, which would shoot down and cause damage to different areas of the ship.
And on my table, which was the city fight table, we had got attached to us multiple sorcerers from the word bearers.
Nothing could possibly go wrong.
Nothing could possibly go wrong with dodgy sorcerers, and we had to escort them to ritual sites. And upon arriving to the ritual sites, the marshal running the actual table turned around and says, "Roll a D3," and then promptly sacrificed D3 models every turn in these sacrificial pits. At which point we realised that that was one of the things we had to do, and just kept feeding these pits, which is where most of my breaches ended up being fed to the monster.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once they'd reached a certain number, we had a bunch of demons turn up on the table, and we're not talking the small ones, we were talking big ones, and they messed things up pretty impressively.
So with mine, like I say, we had the generators that we had to capture, but my table was split into a U shape, and basically all of the titans, I'm going to reiterate, a lot of titans and things were on one side. I had a big huge armoured column push towards us, and we had to defend those areas of the Manufactorum. At some point it became clear that the game wasn't working as well, so we actually reset on the next day, on the Sunday, onto 2 separate tables, one with a Titan game and one with the actual Apocalypse game.
Just due to the massive amount of Titans that was mullering everything.
Yeah. So with that, like the group that basically the people who I ended up with on this right-hand flank fighting over this went and just joined onto another table, and was reset everything from there, and we had to get like a command bunker, and basically we filtered all our commanders into this area to try and go score as many victory points as possible. So it made a game which had gotten kind of out of hand a little bit more manageable.
Yeah. So especially with the firepower that's coming down from the Titans, it's just
exactly. Yeah. So it became something that had gotten kind of I wouldn't even say out of hand, just unmanageable. into something a bit more reasonable and a bit more manageable.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, unless you've brought a 3,500 point force specifically to
take
deal
out
with
Titan,
a Warlord Titan, then you're going to die.
I did not.
So, yeah. But the table design on my table was actually quite different. So it was in a plus shape. And as a result of that, we basically had 2 limbs each to assault from. And in the middle, we had a 4 foot by 4 foot table, which was the centre of the city fight, which was basically a giant plaza. And we again had to get our commanders into the middle to score those extra victory points.
As well as doing your sacrificial
As well as doing the sacrificial shenanigans. But my Xiphon got its first air-to-air kill, which was hysterical. And my Dreadnought curb stomped several enemy commanders because at the end of the game it was basically a general off and one of mine was left. So he killed another Dreadnought general and then killed 2 others. And then I had some Imperial Fist turn up with his toughness 6, instant death sword and weapon skill 7, just kicked my backside all over the place. But it's a dice game.
But going on to what we said about the general, there was the really nice mechanic that they introduced where when you registered, everybody got a sealed card.
Sealed envelope.
Everyone got a sealed envelope. And what that was if your general was killed or killed the other person's general in melee, in combat, you would hand over your envelope and you would open it up there and then, and you would get a bonus to your general.
So +1 strength, +1 weapon skill.
Mine was like
Sunder.
I killed an enemy general in combat and made my unit stubborn. And I was like, well, it's already stubborn, so that's fine. Typical of my luck is what
Always
that is.
the way.
But there was also loads of different things.
Yeah.
But each of these little cards were also worth a different amount of victory points as well, whether it was 1, 2, or 3. And then obviously at the end of the battle, we had the team the most victory points won. So that's why it became that sort of filtering the enemy warlords and your warlords into that one place to try and score those extra victory points.
But yeah, Ted, unfortunately, he didn't have the best games due to the fact that he deployed his army on the one edge and faced off against 3 separate armies. So this is Ted's 3,500 points
against 9,000 points. No,
10,500 points.
Yeah.
Because of how that table was set up. So Ted ended up not having the greatest of times due to the fact that he's fighting 3 times the force. And he basically just got absolutely curb stomped, and then there was a bunch of dirty custodians teleporting him behind because he wasn't getting enough of a kicking, and they promptly just demolished the rest of his army.
So that was so yeah. But again, I think that's more in the nature of how Apocalypse games are run. Like we've run them in the past.
Yeah.
We've done them before. They're innately difficult to run. So hats off to the guys who actually run it.
Yeah.
Because it's like herding cats.
Oh, and then some.
And then some.
Yeah.
It's herding cats, making sure everything's going well and making sure everything's happening at a reasonable time. So entirely hats off to the lads running the job.
I mean, overall, I enjoyed the event. For what we paid for it, bearing in mind we got 3 free meals as well. So we had dinner and lunch on one day and dinner on the second day.
Yeah.
Overall, it was well worth it. But I think with Ted said it quite well. He says, I'm going to focus on epic moments.
Yeah, he went glory hunting,
didn't he? He went glory hunting. Literally those really wacky moments like my Xiphon's first air-to-air kill. Yeah, get that.
Yeah.
My contempt of killing 2 guys before getting murdered. Yeah, great. Live for those moments when you're playing big Apocalypse games, because at the end of the day, it's called Apocalypse for a reason.
It's so big and so.
It's horrific.
There's one of those things. You can play Apocalypse games really easily as long as you're willing to just go, right, we're going to get that done. If you're getting bogged down by the minutiae detail of every single unit and everything like that drags the game on for so long.
Your big epic units that you usually use in your 3.5k, like for example, 50 billion suzerain or whatever else.
Yeah.
When you turn around and just go, actually, I'm going to pie plate them with my Warlord Titan. Blah! They're deleted.
So, and again,
horrific.
So yeah.
But one of the things that the team down at Warhammer World did that we really did enjoy was they limited reactions to 1 per force per turn on the majority of tables. Unfortunately, I think there was one table where there was some confusion where they were actually all doing reactions, and that just slowed their game down. I mean, on my table, by the end of day 1, we've cleaned 5 turns. And I know for a fact over on Ted's table, they've barely started turn 2.
Yeah. So, but again, that's again, that organisation of like, who's doing what here, who's doing what there. And so it's just, like I say, juggling those different bits and periods. So,
no, overall it was a great time. Again, lovely meeting everyone that was down at the event.
Absolutely.
Some stunning armies.
So I'm going to do some call outs for the lads that ended up on my table. So like I say, we got separated onto the separate table.
Yeah, we were all on different tables for the lols.
But I'd like to say alright to Jay, who had his Blood Angels, Raf, who had his Mechanicum, Tony with his Emperor's Children, Matt with his Raven Guard, Austin with his Ultramarines, Kevin with his Iron Warriors, James with his Salamanders, Carrie with his Sons of Horus, and Ash with the Mechanicum as well. So they were all on our table, which got separated. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, that Tony lad with the Emperor's Children with these 30 Palatine blades.
You want a sword fight?
that was a tricky one to come to terms with, I'm not going to lie. But again, that's the whole point of Apocalypse, where you can do games and have 30 blocks
That's
of
just it. I mean, we've all got ridiculous armies. I mean, my Iron Warriors is over 10k. My Space Force isn't going to be far off behind. I mean, I had to leave like 4k of my Iron Warriors behind because I couldn't take them. What was that?
Yeah.
I should have just checked them all. But a big shout out to Biggs, who ran the table on our side. So he was the Warsmith on our side. He was running the show with all of his Iron Warriors artillery, which was hysterical.
Which was good because it was the first time was that the lad who managed to do it on my table.
Oh yes. So any artillery that had a range greater than 100 inches could fire onto other tables.
Yeah.
So much as we could have fired on our own table, it's way funnier just sitting around and just going, fire mission over.
Yeah,
fire mission
because
sent over.
on the Saturday I got it must have been that Biggs came over and was like, I'm sorry, but I'm doing this.
What?
And he's like, I'm fulfilling a long life dream of Earthshaker canning something on another table. I was like, oh, that's fair.
Blacked.
That's entirely fair. I'm not going to deny that. I'll whinge about it, but
exactly. And then one of the other guys I had a good chat with was Monty. He's quite prominent in the company unity. He is one of the team that supports and works with the Battlescribe group, specifically creating the files. And he put me onto something new, which was a new recruit. So you've got Battlescribe, which uses their files, and you've got New Recruit, which also uses their files. So it's something to have a look at if you're fancying something like a bit of a change, have a bit of a tweak. I'm still playing around with it.
That's the first I've heard of it, so I'm going to give it a go and see.
The nice thing I like about it is the fact you can do it on your PC, so keyboard typing, and then you can basically look at your files on your phone. And if you make an update on a unit, unlike in Battlescribe where you've got to go through and correct everything, you correct that group. So say bolt gun, and you want to change all your bolt guns to shrapnel bolters, no reason why.
No reason.
You literally just tick one box and it will change all of your bolters to shrapnel bolters instead of you having to go through every single entry and changing those. So there's definitely some quirks in there that I'm quite interested in having a play around with and having
like
a look
some nice quality of life things as well. Yeah. That's good. But no, like I say, so from the results of it, obviously Ed got third best army.
And traitors won!
The traitors did win, unfortunately. I
don't know how, but...
well, they won every table, D.
No, they didn't.
Apart from Ed's.
No, there was 2 traitors, 2 loyalists, and then it was the ship.
The ship,
the ship turned tide.
Because it was the Tormentor. That's what it was. From the narrative point of view, the Tormentor turned up, and that's where we had the Zone Mortalis games.
And I wish I'd have known in advance that was going to be happening, because I would have held my breaches back and sent my breaches to Zone Mortalis, because they're kind of built for that. But games being what it is, it took me 4 turns to slug across the battlefield and sacrifice 20-something to sorcerers.
Oh, well, there you go.
Summon demons.
Summon some demons in.
As an Iron Warrior player, we do not agree with the summoning of demons, but I don't think we have much of a choice. It is what it is.
I say they've all got filed in there. It's just like, in you go!
I don't want it!
But no, end of it. Traitors won.
Yep.
Ed got best favourite army, 3rd place.
3rd place.
You won first.
First.
And what were the other lads won? Because I know because Martin won
second best loyalist for Salamanders.
For Salamanders. Is there anyone else?
No, I think that was us.
That was us. Oh, well, we did all right.
Yeah, didn't
we
do
did
bad,
pretty
really.
good for everyone that went down there.
So yeah, it was a good event. I mean, we ended up hiring I'd say a B&B, but it's not. It's an Airbnb.
Which is just somebody's house.
Yeah,
So-
just fine by us because it saved our pit. It was his.
I would say for what all we used it was, which was like somewhere to sleep on the night time and maybe get some food on the day we turned up. Did the job. Did the job. It was a 20-minute ride outside of Nottingham.
Yeah.
So getting down there, really nice.
But no, overall a cracking event.
And to be fair, it's one of those things where I've not gone to many events in a long time. So getting back into the swing of doing events and going places, and Warhammer World's always a good laugh.
Yeah.
Always a good shout at Warhammer World.
But yeah, I mean, I want to try and get out to a few more events, but I think now that I've filed Space Wolves winning a trophy, Iron Warriors winning a trophy,
moving on to something
I
else.
think I can move on to Death Guard now.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things that I don't know about you, but it inspires me to go, because I didn't get. I felt I did all right with my Dark Angels. My Dark Angels are fine, but so getting those, either getting them up to a standard where they can win a trophy, or doing an army where it's really, really nice and people go, that's stunning. That's kind of where I'm at the minute. So I'm like, what can I do? So I've got a couple of ideas percolating, but.
It certainly re-injuvenated my hobby mojo because I've gone a bit crazy.
You were struggling recently, weren't you?
Yeah, now I'm in full event mode, building terrain and scenery for a certain event coming up.
Certain events, aye.
Certain event, yeah.
But yeah.
Some very nice things coming up for that. Very, very nice
so
things.
Yes, all very good and very excited. And like I say, thanks again to the lads who I played with. They were a great bunch of lads. And
Yeah, so again, thank you all. Have a good time, and we'll catch us at the next one.
See you in the next one.
I am going to go and fuck off and build my Orky tank.
Right.
Do you need a half-hour timer?
Well, I don't think we'll be half hour, to be honest.
It's just every half hour you need to refresh it, basically. It won't keep going. So either start a timer for half an hour or 30 minutes.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
And basically, if you're under it, cool, don't worry. If you're going to be over, think, oh, that was a nice place to start.
That was a nice place to start.
Basically, click stop, click go again.
30 minutes, not 14 minutes, 30 minutes. Go! Right.
Ted, did you start the camera?
Did start the camera, yeah.
And it's one of these.
As he wanders on.
Talk for half an hour.
There's nothing recorded.
Oh well.
Oh. Right. Professional, Dean, professional.
Now I need to check the mics are working now. Leave eternity, you can see it.
Quick.
Now we've lost a minute for fucking around.
Worth it.
Excellent.
It's a minute with a blooper.
That's a long blooper, that. Like. Look at him fucking about. Jesus.